Welcome to Satsang. Yes, Tosh.
The first question is, how do I stop thoughts in the mind and be able to rest the mind at peace?
We can use discipline to stop thoughts simply by stopping them, but the best way to get away from the mind, to put awareness away from the mind, is to put it on something that's real. Anything is real except what you think. And so if you put your awareness on your breath, or you put your awareness on your footfalls when you're walking, or what you're looking at, or what you can hear, that works. You don't want to go to war with the mind. You're better off just shifting awareness. I have loved the present moment most of my life. Yet, like everybody else, I was trained to live in my head when I went to school, so I could problem solve and pass exams. But I loved the present moment so much, I kept bringing awareness back to the present moment. Got involved with extreme sports, anything that brought me back to the moment. I had an understanding that living in the head is where people hurt themselves. And it's where people do hurt themselves. Without a thought, we're pretty free. But with thoughts, we have problems. So I stay present to reality, and have done for most of my life. But if you're having problems with thoughts, just bring your awareness to what is real. And everything is real except what you think.
The next question, how much does impatience cost us on the journey towards truth?
Impatience is another projection that things are being repeated, a wanting of something different than how it is. It's a desire. You bring your awareness to what is real and move away from the mind. Move to what's real. Put awareness on what is real. Impatience is a form of suffering. It's a form of resistance. Resisting whatever you're doing now because you want something to be different. Bring awareness back to what is real. Be present to what is real. Be mindful of what is real. And then impatience disappears. It only really has power while you support it. Otherwise, it doesn't have power. Every movement of your body is real. Every breath is real. Everything you see, everything you hear, everything you feel is real. Bring your awareness back to those things.
The next question relates to wounding. I'm aware that I have some wounding, yet I can't really find it. Is watching the mind enough to find wounding?
Just get into a relationship, that should do it.
Is that how you got in touch with?
Heck
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, I've always been attracted to women who are probably a bit like my mother, like everybody else, fiery. So any trip that I had, the women I was with could bring it up. Gave me the opportunity to challenge the belief systems that cause contraction and allowed me to heal the wounding that was underneath when it was triggered, because I was prepared to feel what was there. If you're not willing to feel what's in there, if you're not willing to feel your wounding, well, you'll never feel it. You'll find a way to avoid it. And so there has to be a conscious decision that is then supported, that you will feel whatever comes up. You will be tenderly okay with whatever appears. And if you have that attitude, the wounding will come up and you will heal it. But as long as you just want to be comfortable, you will find a way to avoid it. It's up to you. You create your reality. You're in charge of your mind. If you don't want to feel it, you won't heal it. So when people say they can't feel their wounding, they're probably using every escape mechanism under the sun to not feel it, because it's compressed energy. It does try to surface. Okay.
What is the best way of dealing with rage body? Or repressed anger?
These questions are very psychologically based. You could ask these questions of a psychologist or a psychotherapist. They're not spiritually based questions. I don't want to continue answering them.
Is the destruction of our dreams or the death of our ambitions a good thing on the way to truth?
There's only one desire that's worth having on the way to truth, and that's the desire to be free, the desire to wake up. The desire to get away from discomfort will take you so far, but it won't take you far enough. The thirst for truth, as Ramana Maharshi put it, needs to be like that of a man or a woman being held under water, starving for air. And I agree with Ramana Maharshi, because what it takes to wake up is a totality. Partiality doesn't work. Half-hearted attempts do not work. Because you're trying to defeat a survival mechanism that's 1 million years old. It has to surrender unconditionally. And to do that, there needs to be a totality of effort into waking up. You do whatever it takes, whatever is required. It's a bit like whatever you put first in your life is going to win. If you put truth first, truth will win. But quite often people don't put truth first, they just have it as a second or a third. People who are awake have put truth first. Otherwise, they would not be awake. Another word for truth is God, or beingness, whatever you want to call it. But it has been put first. What do you put first? When I was younger, I was into success in sports and in business. And I understood there was a recipe for success. And that recipe has an ingredient that is totality. And those people who are very successful in any endeavour have that ingredient of totality. They put whatever they're doing first and they give it their totality. And that's why they win at it. That's why they're successful. And truth or consciousness growth is no different. What do you put first? It's going to win. Up to you.
What does putting truth first look like, or what did it look like in your life as a seeker?
So I had a game, it was called the Game of Zero. And it's a game I developed to eliminate all obstacles that are in the way of higher consciousness. And the Game of Zero worked very simply. When I was absolutely at rest, that was zero. Anything above that was not zero and is not something I wanted, because I knew I needed to develop a mind that was equanimous to support truth. And so anything that took me above zero, any belief system, was challenged and undone. And so all obstacles were removed so the mind stayed even while under fire, even while giving fire. Developing a mind that would support truth. Self-inquiry can show you who you are. Asking the question, who am I, or what's aware, can take you back to that. Awareness can turn on itself. But if the mind has not been prepared to support that, it's not likely to stay. And this is the great failing of the Advaita Vedanta movement. People just think that self-inquiry alone, done part-time, because it's usually done by lay people, is going to work, and it doesn't. What works is preparing a mind that will support enlightenment. And then self-inquiry is a wonderful tool for someone who has done that work to turn awareness onto itself.
How do I embrace my dark side whilst also serving heart?
Serving the heart is the path of non-resistance. It's the path of openness. Because when we're open, we can perceive love. When we're closed, we cannot. The dark night of the soul appears, which is just pain body releasing, really. We can be open. We don't have to resist. It's up to you. You're the one who supplies the resistance. Can you be open while you're uncomfortable? Or can you not? It's up to you. You supply the openness or the closure. You supply the resistance. It's up to you. Openness works really well. Closeness usually represses everything again.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions, any statements, or any challenges to anything that has been said here tonight? Or does anyone have anything else they'd like to chat about? Yes. Maitreya.
You spoke about impatience and it being a dream and not basically a desire not fulfilled. And you spoke about the totality needed to wake up, being like someone held underwater thirsting for air. So for me, the two seem to go hand in hand, like when I try and be total.
That's not true.
So how do I be total without
A man
impatience?
being held underwater, thirsting for air, will do whatever it takes to get to that surface, to get that air. Impatience is just a dream. You're not dying. You're just dissatisfied. They're very different. You see, if you put under enough pressure to get something done, you'll find a way to make it happen. That's why that thirst is required. It allows you to see what the price is. It allows you to pay the price because you want it so badly. Impatience is very different. Impatience is a kind of a little tantrum you throw inside yourself because you're not happy with what is. It's a dream.
Okay.
See, if you're really thirsty, you'd see that impatience is actually an obstacle in the way of enlightenment. That's what the thirst enables you to do. It enables you to see the obstacles. It enables you to see what's in the way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Over there, I'll come back to you.
While being I-identified, what's the best way to love beingness, to express love and show love to beingness?
To love beingness, you have to have some access to it, and that's usually later. That's someone who has access to beingness has reasonably high consciousness levels already. And beingness is so beautiful that when you do have a little bit of access to it, the difference between having access to it and coming back to ego-based reality is a little bit like heaven and hell. One is expansive and beautiful, the other one is small and uncomfortable in comparison. And so the mind falls in love with the beauty because it knows the beauty, it knows what it is. It becomes very, very infatuated with it. And in that infatuation, in that love affair with truth, it becomes willing to die for truth. It becomes willing to surrender unconditionally for truth. It becomes willing to give its life to God or truth. But it's a love affair that develops because someone can actually feel it. The abstract understanding of truth is not enough. Satori gives you a glimpse of what's there, and the mind can fall in love with that because it now has something to fall in love with. The reason people fall in love with idols and teachers is because they don't have access to truth. And so they fall in love with the closest thing, that reminds them of truth, or that represents truth to them. To be in love with truth, you're in love with an abstract that can't be described. Yet, when awareness is aware of itself, the mind remembers what it is. It's not abstract, it's real. It's actually reality. But that taste is probably required for someone to be in love with it. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Okay. Hello. You have to get the mic. I can assure you of one thing, anyone who's awake is in love with truth. Their mind is in love with truth. There's a love affair occurring, and it'll be ongoing. Yes.
So I've noticed something when I have a pain body coming to the surface, and that if there's tears, there's usually tension. So is that an indicator of unwillingness to feel, or is it contraction through belief systems?
The question was too complex for me. Ask
Sorry.
it like you'd ask a child.
Okay. When I'm crying and I'm tense, does that mean I'm closed?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that because I don't want to feel?
Well, it's probably an unconscious closure, but it could also be because you don't want to feel. We have a whole pile of defence systems which are closures which we don't see. These are unconscious closures that were developed in early childhood. They also have to be undone. And so in witnessing the mind, we become more and more and more conscious of how the mind is operating. This is higher consciousness. Because we can see what's in the way, then we can allay it. What we can't see, we cannot allay. So if we can't see a defence system, if we're not aware of it, we can't do anything about it. And so higher consciousness is the stepping stone to super consciousness. One has to raise their consciousness levels first.
Yes.
You can't go from lower consciousness to super consciousness. Well, you might get a glimpse from lower consciousness, but you won't be able to stay there.
Yeah.
Awareness will not stay on itself because the mind will contract and attract awareness back to itself.
Do belief systems also have anything to do with the process of healing wounding?
Only in that we get wounded when our belief systems are challenged. When an expectation on a belief system is not met and we turn ourselves into a victim, then we create wounding. Victim-orientated thinking creates wounding.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Hello?
In Buddhism, the Gautama the Buddha was teaching about the middle path, which I understand as like a path of moderation. How does this work with the totality required?
Sorry, I missed that last bit.
How does this middle path works with the totality that is required for awakening?
I don't teach the middle path. I understand how it works. I understand that it can work. It's just not a path I teach. I teach the path of openness, the way of the heart. If you practice openness, you can come home. Openness is the only thing that the ego can't use for itself. It's the only thing that it can't use as an avoidance. Openness allows us to heal all of our wounds. It allows us to remove everything that's in the way, because if you practice openness, you get to see everything that's in the way. And if you want to stay open, you have to remove those things, so you do. So from my perspective, witnessing the mind and openness are the two key things to raising consciousness levels that work for people who are in the marketplace. If you are wide open, nothing touches you. When we look at that and feel into it, we say, yeah, but if I'm not defended, I'm going to get touched. If you react, you're in resistance. If you're wide open, there is no reaction. There may be a response, but there is no reaction. The practice of openness allows you to develop an equanimous mind that supports enlightenment. The middle path also allows you to develop an equanimous mind. Different paths, but similar. As far as I'm concerned, openness counts for everything. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm going to answer someone's question online. You grab the mic. Yes, Mahan?
Hi, Vish. There's a few questions online. The first one is, how can I provoke my tears to come? Is it a matter of the right place and the right time?
Why would you want to provoke your tears to come? Is there anything else?
Yes. As you advise, keep awareness on real things which can be perceived. Can the awareness be perceived if I want to be aware of awareness?
Yes, it can. Self-inquiry can actually turn awareness onto itself, and you can get a glimpse of your true nature through self-inquiry. That is absolutely possible. That's how I began.
Can you explain with an example what it means to prepare the mind for enlightenment?
Okay, so someone abuses you and you contract, you're not ready. You abuse someone and you contract in doing it, you are not ready. Your mind is not equanimous yet.
So it's about removing the contractions.
So it's not about removing contractions, it's about not contracting. It's about being open.
Is an even mind a silent mind?
In my case it is, but before awakening it wasn't. But it wasn't noisy, it was pretty quiet. I couldn't be bothered with story, full stop. My story, your story, wasn't interested. I was in love with reality. So I used my mind as a tool to operate in the world. But when I wasn't using it, it was pretty quiet. I've been a meditator, well, since I was 28. But even before that, I was present. I love the moment. It is beautiful. It's what we have. Everything else is rubbish. We only have the moment. Everything else is dream.
What is the difference between psychological questions and spiritual questions?
I'll let you work that out. If you can't work that out, you're on the wrong channel. Yes.
There's one more.
Okay.
I understand you're a vegetarian. When did you stop eating meat and how was the transition for you?
I stopped eating meat when I was 28 years old. I'm now 68, so about 40 years ago. I was a hunter. I hunted animals and I hunted fish. I had been hunting since I was a little boy. And at one point I started to realise I had too much blood on my hands. My consciousness levels rose and I recognised that I didn't have the right to steal the most valuable possession of any being, their life. And so I stopped being involved in killing and I became a vegetarian, and it was a result of consciousness levels rising. I found my heart to some degree and could not be involved in killing. And I knew that if I was eating meat, that had to be killed for me to eat it, and so indirectly I was still responsible, so I stopped. It's that simple. Is that it?
That's it, thank you.
Yes.
For someone that has no reference points of openness, how would you describe living completely open?
Open, closed. Open, closed. Or closed, open. It's not hard.
No, I know. It was more...
Should I do it with a door?
Don't let it hit me on the way out. more like, how does the world feel to you?
So the world to you is this room, and these people in it, and me. The world to me is the universe. Every particle of it. There is no feeling. It is just vast nothingness, and I am that. That's about it. There's a lady behind you that wants to ask a question.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello.
My question is, what will appear to your mind when your body, this body, goes and you're like enlightened, and I know you won't need to come back to samsara. So what will appear to an enlightened person's mind if you don't now have the karma of this body and the appearances that are appearing related to that?
So can you simplify your question for me?
My understanding is that the things that appear that we see in our lives are based on our karma. All our appearances are based on karma. So once you've extinguished that by waking up, then what will appear to the mind of a Buddha, of an enlightened being, when this body is no longer you're like an enlightened being's body? So you've become enlightened in this life, then what will appear to you in the next life?
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And this will frighten you, but nothing. When I shut my eyes, I am vast nothingness. I'm not here. Even with my eyes open, I'm not here. There's a body here and there's a personality here connected to a mind that allows communication, but there's absolutely no sense of a somebody here talking to you. There's talking, but there's nobody talking. When I shut my eyes, everything is gone, just vast darkness. People like to think of beingness as light, but it's not, it's darkness. It's just that we're frightened of darkness, so they don't want to think of it that way. It doesn't think, it just is. And that's a little bit hard for the ego to understand. Why would I ever want that? Find out by becoming it. The thing is, you already are it. It's already here. Everyone here is at their final destination. There's nowhere to go. It's just that awareness in most people is facing the wrong direction to know itself. When awareness is on itself, this world is so transitory and so small compared to what we are, which is infinite. And you shut your eyes and it's all gone. All this is gone. I think that with death, it's going to be the same. It's going to be just vast, vast nothingness. And people get frightened of that understanding, but that's because they haven't really had a look at what it means to live as an I. You get born, you suffer for a while, and then you die. And before you die, you lose everything you've got, probably. It's a tragic journey. In that journey, people can experience love, which makes it beautiful. But most people don't do what is required to experience much love either, because love appears in openness, and people remain closed and remain in projection and memory rather than openness and in the moment. In openness in the moment, we perceive love because it's always here, and this is a beautiful way to live. And this is the way that I chose to live my life from the age of 33. The path of the heart, what I considered the noble path, which is basically taking care of everyone and everything that you come across. This is the way of the heart, and this is a beauty way. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the only lovely way to live here. Just living as an ego that is selfish is a horrible way to live here, because it's tragic all the way through. At least if there's love, which is the true jewel of consciousness, there's a certain amount of beauty on the way to death.
Can I add one more thing?
Yep.
So if nothing is going to appear to your mind when you've passed from this body, then how can you, as a Buddha, come and help everybody if no conceptual thought arises?
Help everybody when? Right now?
Not right now, but when this body has gone, when your body's gone.
You can come back if you want. I think what brings people back is unfinished businesses, desires, attachments. That's what brings people back. Someone who's awoken has given up all attachments and all desires, so they probably won't come back unless they choose to. And then that one desire to come back, even if that desire is to help others, that should be enough to bring a person back as an ego.
Can you come back not as an ego, but with some level of control?
Well, you'd come back
as a Buddha.
If you're awake and you came back, you'd be your consciousness levels would be through the roof when you were reborn. And we look at women who have woken up like Amma. I believe she was probably enlightened in a previous life. She woke up as a child. I think this is what happens. But I'm not sure. I don't know.
Thank you.
It's only a guess, really. I don't know what's going to happen. Last year, around about 13 months ago now, I nearly died in a motor car accident. And I was unconscious on the ground, and when I became conscious, I tried to get up, and I found I couldn't breathe. My lungs had been collapsed. And I just lay there to die. And it was so lovely. And then I got resuscitated. But there wasn't any desire to come back. There wasn't any desire to survive either. I was just there in the nothingness, not even waiting, just there, gone, gone, gone. And I got revived. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I thought previously that maybe I would make that desire to come back to help people because I love people. But it didn't happen then. There was just nothing.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, behind you.
You're saying even from the age of 28, you weren't interested in your story and you weren't interested in other people's stories?
Not from the age of 28. No, it was a bit later. It was... I really got rid of story completely when I became a naturopath, when I realised that every time I touched the door handle of my clinic, my story disappeared completely and I was there for the person on the other side. And I'd work an 8-hour day and there'd be no story of Vishrant, and it'd be really nice. Because the story of Vishrant, like everyone else's story, is a story of problem solving, a story of concerns. And I just discovered that I could actually spend a whole day at work without a story of Vishrant. And I just extended that for the rest of my life. I got rid of the story of Vishrant. I got rid of that story. And it was so nice. My mind quietened right down almost to nothing, because without a story of you, there isn't much to think about. There isn't much to run in your head.
And how were you with people outside of your clinic in terms of general chit-chat? Or
not so good. But my job was to listen to people. As a naturopath and psychotherapist, my job was to listen to people, listen to their stories, and then try to take them off them. You see, most people who came in for psychotherapy were caught in some form of drama. Something was happening in their minds that they weren't happy about, some story. And so my job was to try to help take story off them so they could be free. And whatever facilitated that was worthwhile. And so that was pretty interesting work. It was like arm wrestling people. I was arm wrestling them for their freedom, and they were arm wrestling me for their imprisonment.
So what about just the people that you would hang around or be around? Was it always like
all my friends were into higher consciousness. I didn't really hang out with people who weren't.
Is that because the communication barrier was just too great to cross? Like
No, it was because I wasn't interested in what they were talking about.
What about if Like, could you say you'd do it for love?
Do what for love?
Would you engage in
people's rubbish?
Yeah.
I still do.
That's true.
But I know what I'm dealing with. I do love people. I love them so much that I listen to their crap, yeah.
I find myself not very interested in, I suppose, people's ongoing story drama.
Have you ever sat and talked to me for any length of time? What happens to your mind?
You go silent.
It does, doesn't it? That's what happens to anybody who talks to me for any length of time.
I'm personally not there. I can't silence people's minds. But I do definitely notice a not want to engage in repetitive.
Well, don't. Mind you, I do entertain people's stuff because it's how they feel loved sometimes. To be heard makes them feel like they're loved. And it is a way of loving someone, to listen to them. You know? Whatever works is worthy. The only thing that's valuable here is love. And whatever works to facilitate that is worthy.
Well, for your change in personality from when you didn't have heart and somewhat didn't really mind that you weren't loving people to having heart, still not being enlightened, but having heart and still listening to people, what did that look like in terms of getting along in the world with?
It looked like me being in service. You see, when you really want to serve heart, when you really want to be involved with the heart, you move into service. Service of whatever. It could be plants, could be animals, could be humans. It's just that's how love makes you feel. You just want to take care of things. It's very beautiful. It's how it affects the mind. The ego takes a step back. Yeah.
Can it work the opposite direction? So, you say when you're in love, you want to be in service. Can you be in service in order to experience love?
You said in love. I didn't say in love. You see, what happens is when you're wide open, love appears and it affects the mind. It's not like you're really in love, you're just perceiving love. And when the mind perceives love, it just wants to take care. It has true compassion, true empathy.
Can being in service facilitate love appearing?
Only if your attitude is correct for being in service and that you're practicing openness. People who are practicing closure don't experience much love. They might think they do, but it's probably primal bonding of some kind. Love appears in openness, not closure. And so you could move into service and remain closed and probably not perceive love. And so service alone is not enough. The gentleman next to you would like to have a chat.
Hi, Vishrant.
Hello.
You're talking about approaching enlightenment by way of openness.
Yeah.
Do you know how Osho Rajneesh got to be enlightened? What his path was?
Well, what he taught was witnessing the mind and finding yourself eventually as that witness, which is the pure awareness that I'm talking about. And so his main methodology, his main teaching was witnessing the mind. He added to that acceptance of life as it is, And that's the key to undoing the mind, accepting life as it is. Witnessing the mind wasn't necessarily the way that I came, though I did use witnessing the mind extensively from a very young age, because I was interested in the mind, and thinking about the mind is not witnessing. Witnessing is simply watching it like you'd watch a wild animal and seeing what behaviours it has. And in witnessing the mind, there comes a point where you find that instead of the mind being aware of the witness, you find yourself as the witness. And this is, if that stays, that is enlightenment, and that's what I suspect happened to Osho Rajneesh. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm going to answer someone online. Hey, Choden. You're muted, Choden. I can't hear you. Oh, I can. Yeah, well, I can hear you now. Oh, suddenly you're not loud. You're loud. You've gone soft. Bring your mic up to your mouth.
Hello, sir.
Okay, it's not that clear.
Can you hear me
I
good
can.
now?
I can now. Yeah.
In your life, what have made you to decide to serve fear?
But I didn't. I decided not to serve fear from a very young age. From being a little boy, I saw fear as the enemy. It stops you from having fun. So I don't think in this lifetime I've been involved in serving fear. I've been involved in stepping through fear because I was into having fun. You know, if you want to have a life of adventures, you don't serve fear. You have courage, you step through the fear. Then you have a life of adventures. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Did I answer your question?
Clear, sir.
Okay.
A little hard to believe, but you know. But yes, thank you, sir.
Okay. A little hard to believe. Susha.
I don't believe it.
Susha, darling. Thank you, Choden.
Hello.
Hello.
Could you talk about staying open as one goes through the dark night of the soul?
I just gave myself no choice, which is actually the definition of discipline. You give yourself no choice. You stay open no matter what. No matter how uncomfortable things get, you stay open. You give yourself no choice. This is discipline. This is what works. We all learnt discipline when we had to go to school and sit in classes for 40 minutes and listen to boring lectures. So everybody's got discipline in them. But the discipline that's required to stay open is probably a little bit greater. But it's possible. You give yourself no choice. If you want to become an unstoppable human being, you give yourself no choice. And out of all the successful people I've ever met in my life, they're all unstoppable human beings. They give themselves no choice.
Okay.
Okay. Discipline.
Yes.
Abby. Abai.
Hi, Vishrant.
Hello.
Vishrant, I sometimes find very uncomfortable to receive love.
I see you've lost your husband again.
No, he is very much with me.
The dot is missing.
Yeah, that's become a joke now. Like, big belief system.
What is your question or your statement?
My question is like, why do I feel uncomfortable to receive love?
Well, the only reason that would be is you don't feel worthy of it. And low self-worth is a result of low self-acceptance, something that you're not accepting in yourself that's created low self-worth. When you fully are in acceptance of yourself, every part, your self-worth will be reasonably high. But when there's parts of you that you don't accept, you have low self-worth, you probably have wounding around it. And so in a lot of ways, the foundations for higher consciousness are going inside and finding everything that you don't accept and finding a way to accept it. If you accept yourself totally, you'll find that self-love will arise. And then you feel worthy. Then you don't have a problem receiving love. You don't have a problem receiving anything. If you're having a trouble receiving, there's something inside of you that doesn't accept you. There's some low self-worth there. So write down all the things that you don't accept as yourself or you don't like about yourself and find a way to accept them. Find a way to be tenderly okay with all of them. Make them your friend. Okay?
Yeah, and even the part that is selfish, that's being selfish.
Heck yeah, that part too. Every part. You accept every part. The liar, the cheat, the killer. Every part. The selfish part, every part. You got, because any part you don't accept, you've got a part of the mind at war with that part, judging that part. That part will be hiding somewhere. You have a schism in your mind. You're going to create low self-worth somewhere. You've got to find a way to accept the good, the bad and the ugly inside of you. Be your own best friend.
And that does not need any reason. Like if I am going to accept the part which is very selfish, so there need not be a reason for accepting it.
Don't rationalise it, just accept it. So you've got children, I know you have children. Some of their behaviours are probably not the best because everyone's got problems. But do you accept them or do you not? Do you accept your children or do you not, even though they have parts that are not so good? We can go straight to acceptance. You just got to do it. You find a way to be tenderly okay with whatever you find inside yourself. That doesn't necessarily mean you run it. You accept the killer, but you don't go out and kill people. You accept the thief, but you don't go out and steal. You accept the liar, but you don't lie. You just apply acceptance, that that's what is, and it's okay. But it doesn't necessarily mean letting that part run, because that might be detrimental to others and to yourself. Okay?
Thank you, Vishrant.
Okay. Yes, Angel.
When you were a seeker, what did you determine as quality of life, and what did you do to make it so?
For me, quality of life was living in the moment rather than living in my head. And so I was into lots of activities that involved being present to what is real. I was really big on partying and diving and dancing and anything that brought me into the moment. Motorbike racing, you name it, car rallying. I loved the moment. That was living, that was quality of life. people who live in their heads don't have quality of life. They might think they do, but they're just having a dream. Quality of life can only exist in real time, and real time is now. And real time is being here now without a dream. Real time here. Nice. So quality of life for me was living in the moment, still is. A lot of people live their life in the matrix of their mind, and they die not having really lived, but existed in their heads. Okay?
Does it matter what you do as long as you are with the breath or with what is real?
No, you can do whatever you like. Have as much fun as you like, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone or yourself. We're not going anywhere. We're on this big ball spinning through space, not going anywhere. Everyone's going to die. Why not have fun? Why not enjoy your life? Why not squeeze the juice out of life? Of course, if you serve fear, that's not going to happen. Is it, Choden? No, it's not. Hello, behind you. Yep.
Hi, Vish.
Hello.
Sometimes I feel like I can sense energy visually, and then other times I feel like I can sense it when my eyes are closed.
Yeah.
Like it's more of an internal process.
Yep.
And I wanted to know your experience with energy.
Well, I can feel you from here, or I can be there. Okay.
I don't quite understand what that means, though.
Well, pure awareness is everywhere. It's not specifically anywhere. It's everywhere. So if you talk about someone that you know who's living in another country, I can be there. I can find them through you. You see, we're not limited. We are everything. We are vast, vast, vast awareness. We're not limited. But as long as you're living as an ego, you're living as something that's very limited. But what we truly are is not limited by anything. It's infinite. And so I can feel you from here, or I can feel you from there.
Initially, did you feel like it was limited and it kept expanding as your consciousness was rising?
I've lived in the energy world my whole life. I've been open enough to live in it my whole life.
Yeah.
And so I used to use it to read people so I could be successful in business and at school. Now I use it to help people. See, I'm talking to myself. You think you're talking to me and that I'm separate from you, but I know I'm not. I'm not separate from you, I am you. We are one. There is nothing but non-duality, really. Take away your dream and what is here. Take away your imagination and what is here. The imagination allows us to think that we're separate, that we've had a past, that we're going to have a future. That's projection. Take away your imagination and what's real. It's not a bad way to have a look at it. I don't live in imagination, so what's real for me is this moment. And awareness is aware of itself in this moment, here. So I'm there and I'm here.
That just blew my mind a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. It is time. It is time. It is half past. I don't expect anyone to believe anything I say. I want you to find out for yourselves. Never ever believe anyone, ever. It's a trap. All belief systems are prisons. Thank you for Satsang. Good to see you brave hearts here tonight.